All right, should we get started? Hey, Miles, how are you
Hello.
doing? How's it going? Um, so excited to talk to y'all. We're gonna do it's an even numbered week, so we're gonna do demos, then we'll do retrospective, then we'll talk about the work for the upcoming week. But yeah, I see there's three PRs out there. I think is what I looked a few minutes ago. So let's I guess at the boundary of a sprint, like what a team often does is they'll often do demos if there's things to demo. If there's not, there's also like a, kind of a sprint review that we can do. So, if we're not ready to demo or we're still waiting for things, we can show work for sure. We should definitely talk through the state of the project, what's in flight, like what things are maybe keeping people from getting things done, those kinds of things, so we can figure out how to take that next step, like keep making progress. So maybe I don't know who wants to start, but maybe kind of let's talk about the sort of what's the state of play at the moment.
Actually, that third PR is just that kind of refactoring of the data structure. I was sort of like, I just sort of put that out there and put it on the side, waiting for enough, what I felt like were enough approvals. So I hadn't really thought about demoing that. It wasn't even on my mind. I can probably if we want to, but I just wanted, I felt like kind of a unilateral move, and so I wanted to make sure that there was enough approval before I bothered even thinking about it.
Well, and it might be good to show it, and
Okay.
have the team kind of see what the change was, and um, that might be a good way to see if people buy into it, and we can
Okay.
maybe get it merged. So, do you want to show it and walk through it?
Sure. Like I said, I wasn't quite set up for that, so let me
Okay.
get my stuff here.
And the other PRs. So maybe I can someone just kind of describe to me, because I haven't been in the PRs super deep myself. So if you were talking to a product manager or some other stakeholder, like how would you describe what the state of things is relative to the work that's out there?
Look, I found a rolling pony.
Awesome. I would say the state of RPR is we've hit the AC. We're able to have a user go in, add an item. They are able to click the purchase button. So it's registered that it is been purchased. And then there is a timer set in place that restarts when 24 hours has gone by. And there's also a change in color for it's going to be blue before it's purchased, and then it switches to orange once the user clicks the item.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're basically you're done. It just hasn't had a mentor approval, so you haven't merged it. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
That's good. I gave it the prelim a couple days ago when I last saw it, but we can do another final round today.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Nice. All right, so we'll get that one merged pretty quickly, it sounds like. And then, what was the other issue that was in flight? The welcome user screen, right?
I think I'm supposed to push what we have to our branch, but it keeps saying that our branch is up to date with Origin Master. So I think like by now we're done with we've met AC. We can figure out.
But it's local. Yeah, it's not up on the branch. Okay.
Yeah, and then we need to close the pull request.
So you're on your branch, is that right?
Say that again.
When you do like get status, it shows that you're on the branch and not on master.
Yeah, it shows that I'm on my branch.
So that makes me think that maybe your branch is tracking master instead of tracking the remote branch. Is that
maybe
sound right? Jay or Steve, does that like if it's saying it's up to date with Origin master, it should be up to date with a remote branch.
definitely in the realm of could happen. I mean, it's Git.
I have a question. Is it when you're pushing, are you doing git push or are you doing git push origin and your branch name?
I just do git push.
Okay. So that's why maybe that tracking is.
Yeah, if you do git push, then it doesn't know which branch to push to.
Mhm.
So you need to do that -u origin, whatever your branch is, and then that tells Git, point me at that branch in the within GitHub.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you only have to do that once, and then it'll remember that it's
Yeah.
tracking that branch on the remote. So
Because normally the Git push with no other qualifying info, it just says, "Hey, it can't do that," or it pushes all branches.
Yeah.
So yeah, there might be something weird with your branch tracking somewhere else. But yeah, that you should override that, right, Steve?
Yeah, I think if you do that then or you can just drop the -u, and like if you do git push origin your branch name, then every time it'll push just to that branch name, and it won't push anything else or to any other branches.
I think the -u sets the upstream.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Branch,
so that
right?
should override whatever's
Yeah,
happening.
and then and then your subsequent pushes, and you can just do git push and just leave out the origin branch name.
All right. So git push -u
-u, yeah. Space origin space your branch name.
space.
Yeah.
origin.
I typed out that command in my last message in that thread.
Got it.
Okay, so it sounds like the work is basically done. Just like we need to get it up on the branch, we need to get it approved, and then we can merge. So we're pretty close. It sounds like that's good.
I can show this Firebase experiments branch if you want. Okay. I should share my screen. That might help.
And then I think we will have, since we're so close, maybe people can demo from their locals just to kind of show the work for the other ones too. But let's look at this first.
Okay. So currently our database is saving to just a straight list of items. And the way you pick out what item goes to what list is by the user token on any one item. The branch that I have going, this PR, saves to a list of users. And each user has a field, user token, and a collection of items. So this makes, so right now, if a person, and Sara pointed this out too, if, so to verify that a token is valid when we're, somebody's trying to share a token, when an item is first added, we're creating an item with nothing other than a user token. So when you actually show a list of items, you'll have this blank one, which is something you're going to have to do, some sort of control for. But with with doing this user setup, the items are always going to be just whatever items somebody put in there. But we can still validate a user token based on this, the document with the field user token. And so to prove that it's working, we'll say a new item here, jelly beans, push that in, and I'm using this token right now. And you can see jelly beans is there. It's even got the normalized name. And so that means that if I try and do even jelly beans, capitals, it comes up as false. And let me move you people out of my way here. I can clear out my token and I can still join that token or join that list based on, I can validate that token still, just because I can go by users. So that's all that does, just change that data structure. So we can do what we need to do without having that extra item there.
Anybody have questions about, or like, reactions or questions about that structure? Does it make sense to people?
I just have one question, and I'm pretty sure you've already answered this, but how did you guys set it up? It was set up previously in, like, what's the difference between now and then?
Question. So right now, the way that we've been working, we've got this Firestore collection at the top of our app, and right now it's just pushed. It's that Firestore collection is just getting items from. It's just getting stuff from that items list. But now I have it getting items from users and the user token items. So it's getting that list.
Awesome.
And then when it adds an item, which I think that was the next change. Yeah, then it adds to that same collection.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Cool.
Everybody on board with making that change?
I thought it was good too, because you can, it opens up the door for like a lot more rich features. So like you could do things like, you could have a drop down with showing all the lists you might be able to share with, right? Or you could name your list, or there are a lot of interesting things you could do. It was cool. And everything works the same as it did before. We're just kind of swapping out the engine a little bit.
And I think that can also change something that I know we've at least mentioned, because now a user token doesn't have to have an empty item associated with it to know that it actually exists.
That was a major reason I wanted to do it. It's just that one extra item was like bothering me.
Cool. At this point, maybe what makes sense is to get the other two PRs from this week merged, and then merge that back on top of it. And Scott, you know the code well, so maybe you can kind of handle the merge conflicts that come up. But if anybody wanted to pair maybe with Scott to do that, they would gain some context as well. So do you want to show the work from this week? Anybody want to kind of demo locally what you have?
Yeah. If you're ready to go again, Scott.
As
Awesome.
you're going to do the browser demo first.
Let me just make sure I know where it's located. Sorry. Okay, cool. This one screen business is fun. Okay. So I add an item. Knit it. Then head over to my shopping list. See that I have 3 items in here. I can actually click on them to mark them as purchased. And there is no unclicking them from here. And so that's how the user knows it actually tracks the specific, down to the specific millisecond of when you click the button. And then after 24 hours, the button will revert back to blue. And do you want me to demo that now, or would you like me to show that to you afterwards, after Scott gives his rundown?
Oh, the expiring?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see it. Is it hard to do? You just go into the database, or how do you? Oh, fake time seconds. Got it.
Okay, so the one that should be reset is whiskey. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can definitely repurchase again.
So where is that data coming from? So that's not actually in the database. This is some kind of fixture or something.
No, which data?
those stuff on the screen right now, those fake time seconds and fake time minute.
Okay, that's just for demo. I had to set, at least I felt like I had to set that up just for demoing, because it would have been difficult to. I mean, 24 hours is a long time to wait.
Yeah, I mean, you could edit the data in Firestore directly, can't you? Or can you not edit the dates, maybe?
It didn't occur to me to edit the date strings in Firebase. Didn't occur to me. Good idea.
Only the clock, only the current time is what's being manipulated. Everything else is coming from the database.
Yes.
So the app just thinks it's yesterday at 12 p.m. or.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Right.
So it's not the data that's being constructed as a fixture. It's just that current time object.
Yeah, it's basically just for a fake now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Um,
Well, I guess yeah. You could just manually set the time on your local machine too. Be another way to do it.
did not know that.
Right.
True that.
I know that from when. Have any of you all ever played Tiny Tower? Do you know that game?
No.
Like one of those little builder games. And we would sit there and we would like mess with our device time in order to like speed up all the little things that you would get, all the little like rewards and everything. So anyway. Cool. So does that mean then you have to make a code change in order to make this kind of production ready then?
Yeah, we have a fake now in the I think it's in the get hours difference. We can take out that fake current time variable and leave that empty, and it'll get the current timestamp when we need that.
Okay.
Do you want me to walk through the code a bit?
Yeah, see it.
Okay. So the assumption is that when an item is first added to the list, it has not been purchased. So in the add item form, when an item is first added, we gave it a date of January 1st of this year, just because it'll always be way more than 24 hours. So that's what's going on there when an item is first added. And then in list item, we're basically trying to get the difference in time between now, which now in this context is when the item or when the list item is being rendered, and the last purchase date on the item. So we're getting that hour difference, and then is purchased is a Boolean flag that we use basically for UI. And so this first if condition here is looking for items with that have been purchased in less than 24 hours ago, and making sure that they're set to true, meaning it is purchased. And when is purchased is true, we give it a CSS class of purchased, which turns it orange, and we disable the button by setting that to null or not null. And then if an item is purchasable and somebody clicks on the button, then we set purchase to true, which again triggers those UI changes, and we save the item to the database. Basically, is overriding the last purchase field and giving it this new date, which is the minute or that second that the button is pushed.
I really like that you took that get difference in hours thing and put it out in the lib folder. I kind of made a separate place for that to live.
Yeah, it was all in here to start with, and Jason pointed out that it would be much better, easier to read if it were elsewhere.
Yeah, and then it's reusable. Like if you wanted to use that, in like an item details page or something like that, you could reuse it there. So yeah, cool. I kind of don't understand the not null or null thing. Is that the way that you get that attribute to either not like show up or not?
Yeah, that was odd. I always thought it was just a Boolean, and that you could do disabled equals true or disabled equals false, but that's not true. It has to be apparently either it's there or not. It's not there.
Fascinating. All right. Cool.
Only comment I had was, could not setting a default date suffice, or could setting a null or an empty string for default date suffice instead of actually setting the default date to some arbitrary date?
We struggled with that. That was our initial state, our initial goal. But it would just be, we were banging our heads against the wall. I think that was like one of the points at which we asked for help, and just like we were confused about the whole thing. And then it occurred to me in the middle of the night, if I just set a date that's really far back in time, it'll always be more than 24. So it seemed like a quick and easy way to deal with it.
Yeah, that might come back up though. There's going to be a new requirement of, if something is more than like whatever the estimate is, if the time since the last purchase is double whatever the estimate is, then it's sort of in an inactive state. So everything is going to start off in an inactive state because it'll always be more than 14 days, so, or 30 days even. So, so we may have to kind of rethink that at some point as well.
Okay.
I think I missed something. So what's the deal with the setting the time from way far back?
So initially we had, when an item is saved, it originally had the last purchase field was, I don't think it would even had a last purchase field.
Yeah.
Or if it did, it was, I think it was either null or a blank string.
Sure.
And so when that item came through in the list item component, we were just having troubles solving for that, and then actually getting, once we had solved for it, actually getting a timestamp, a legitimate timestamp set to it once somebody did push a button. So between, and also like, yeah, so I think it was just like our knowledge base at the point we were dealing with that, combined with, just the mechanics of trying to find that time. It was just, that's where we were. So that was our solution.
Gotcha.
But I think that maybe we know enough now that we can solve that better.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Miles and Sarah, do you want to show? I guess with Miles, maybe it'd be you. Like it sounds like you have the changes locally. So, you want to demo what you have?
Yeah, give me a second. Let me share my screen. All right. So wait.
Give me that thing.
All right. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Or am I hallucinating that everybody can see this? All right. So this is what we got so far. We're supposed to go back to the welcome screen. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but I will just show the whole experience as of yet. So you have the option to create a list or share a list at this point. So create new list. We add the item. Set it to soon, kind of soon. Adds it, I think. Yes, so it added the item. Now on the shopping list, I think, and that we click to delete it, and that's the whole thing. But the screen that you saw in the beginning was the welcome screen we added.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. We moved on, so let's see.
To the welcome screen.
Okay, all right.
That was the welcome screen.
Okay, cool. All right. Any comments or questions? Sarah, did you have anything to add?
No, we were just I guess we did a conditional to say if there were no items on the shopping list, to say that like your shopping list was empty. And then when you add something, that goes away. So, And then the thing, what Scott did this week of like refreshing everything, we'll get rid of that backslash that, because we were automatically having I think just like a placeholder one. I think if that's what because we were making a user token and then like a fake list item. And so like when we redid that, it should just be empty. And if you have an empty shopping list, and I'll say like shopping list is empty, and like, I guess more directions for people.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to show the code that kind of runs it?
Miles, do you have the code up still?
Yes, but I don't know if I have that part of it.
It's the only changes we made to it were to app.js and shopping.js.
All right, hang on. Let me see. App.js. That's not that one. All right, so app.js is that one right there. Oh, hang on, back up. So that's what we added so far.
Yeah, so the H1 is just like we were thinking this needs because before it was just like the add button or like join a list things, and the H1 is just whatever we wanted, whatever the app's name should be, and then we were thinking of just a description of what it should be, or like describing people how to use it. So whenever you come to it, it doesn't look just like a button and then like a form field. So, but then I guess we were struggling with what to do because we didn't. The last 4 issues are like making it look nicer, so we didn't know what to do too much with that. But
no, like you didn't want to go too far down the styling.
Yeah, like path, CSS
right?
and styling and all that. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's like kind of a like from a product perspective. I mean, like there's like the it's kind of like it's more of like it's more like a list that you're making as opposed to like it's not a store, right? But some of the wording is kind of worded as if it's like a place to buy things, but it's not an e-commerce site or something. It's just a shopping list, right?
Okay.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's just a shopping list app. Yeah, it's not hooked up to any stores.
Right.
So,
but anyway, I mean, we can tweak that as we go. But all right, that's cool. And then can you show the other shopping JS? Like what were the changes in there? Okay, so it's the same. Can you scroll up a little bit? It's the same thing. It's just like if there's no user token, or no, if there's no data, right? Okay, data.length. Cool. All right.
yeah, so this needs, whenever it's pushed up, I was going to remove that Firestore collection because it's not needed. Because we're doing that like extra call to the database when it's on app.js, I just need to push it down because we can do, I think, this .props.length instead. Or
stop props.data.length or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or list.length, that's what it is.
Okay.
Prop.list.length, yeah.
Right, yep, yeah, it should be using, since we hoisted that up, it should be using that as the source. Okay.
I think the only thing I might add is like maybe add a link where instead of just saying like buy our stuff or add things, like even making a link to the add item page within that text. It doesn't look like there's anything here, and just kind of call out. It might be just a better user experience to call that out and just have a link that they can click there rather than say go ahead and find the button.
Right now the button's right in your face, but it might not be later.
How do you do a link in React? Is it just the link, right? Or I guess with router
Yeah, the same
thing. Okay.
The link component.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you for demoing. Yeah, I'll be excited to get all that stuff kind of merged in and get it up on the production URL. Steve, you want to lead us through our retro?
Yes. Has everybody had a chance to go in and add a card on there? I think
I got all
see
mine
just
in.
about everybody.
No.
Miles, were you able to add some cards on there on the retro?
Yes, I think I was on the last column.
Oh, you were, okay.
I was adding one to the last column.
Okay.
But hang on, let me just hit submit or enter. And it might.
Let's share my screen. All right. All right, can you all see my screen here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's just start off with appreciations, and we'll just go right down in order. So I'll start off with Sara.
I think Scott made that extra pull request, and he reorganized the database for us and stuff. So I think that was good. And then he fixed, because last week, the issue that I was working on, like you could submit something to the database even though it matched up already, and he fixed that little bug too. So just stuff like that in that PR.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, how about you, Elise?
Oh, Miles, I think. Who's next?
Miles, oh, right. I saw you, Miles.
Wait, I just jumped around.
Jason just had
Or Jason just went, we'll go with Jay. Pop him right to the top. Oh, wait a minute. Where to go? Okay, we're going to go to Miles.
Oh, I was just grateful to be able to move this week. Like, I feel like any other situation, it would have been a whole, like, I would have had to take time off work. I would have had to either pick to focus on one thing or another. But this week, I got to do both. And I think that's something really important in being part of an agile team, is being able to manage both your life and your work life, like your home life and your work life. So I'm glad that I got that experience on how to balance both. I also got roommates this week, and it's funny because I keep telling them oh, I'm training to be a web developer. And to them, it seems like I'm never actually working or I'm never actually doing anything. So I guess I might be doing it right in that case. So I'm grateful for that.
Working hard or hardly working?
Hardly working, exactly. It's one or the other.
Cool. All right, Elise, over to you.
So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I know that this experience has told me that I need to be a little bit better at formulating my questions. So thank you for having the patience when I'm formulating said question. And also just to my teammates, I know this is for 2 weeks, but just the past month in general, I've learned different ways to approach problems. So thank you to everyone for that.
Cool.
Okay, sorry to step up there for a second. Over to me, yeah. So appreciate the team and the channel, especially at the beginning of the week. Scott for jumping on the refactoring, and great teamwork and collaboration in the PR review comments. So it was nice to see. Yeah. Let's move down to Sara.
Scott. So yeah, I want to point out Sara came up with some really cool, simple, practical ideas for problems we were having in the moment. when we were working on, I was kind of like tagging on to their teamwork when they were working on that normalize, or that making sure an item wasn't duplicated. And we were struggling with figuring that out. And she came up with this simple idea of just like adding that field of a normalized name that you could deal with. And then even though we're not going to use it and it's causing problems, she did the same thing with that user, adding an item with just a user token for when we were trying to figure out how to validate a user the first time they had visited without them having to add an item. So yeah, I thought those were like really cool ideas. Just like just the simplicity and of them, practicality of them is really good.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so for me, it's fun to watch you all like start to come together as a team. You know, I noticed there were a couple examples here on the card of just times I kind of went back and looked over the last 2 weeks at Slack, and just the way y'all are kind of pitching in and getting in on threads and helping problem solve and all those kind of things. It's yeah, it's good. It's really, really nice to see that.
Nice. And Jason?
Yeah, communication started at a really high bar. I think one of the first things I said to Andrew and Steve was, they found their developer voice so fast, and y'all continue to like just build on top of that, which is awesome. I think you've all found a balance of like helpful over communication in ways that you all just dive in right away. You're all proactive. You're all kind of talk first, solve first as a group. And that's just super awesome to see. Any senior engineer, lead engineer, manager will tell you, a team that can do that makes your job a lot easier. And it's made our job a lot easier too throughout the week, because you all really talk through everything and then say, hey, this is exactly what we think we need help with, or we can solve this. Like, it's just super great to see. So keep that up. That's just awesome.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And then we'll start off with Jason on the next column here. What went well? What should we keep doing?
Oh, you're muted.
I'll know how this works someday, right?
This week, I'm just going right down the list.
I just wanted to call out again the proactiveness and approaches you all take. You start your draft PRs and you jump in right away, start talking, and there's a lot more thinking and strategizing, more double checking, and then writing code both with each other and with us as mentors, and that's super awesome, because you're double checking your assumptions as you go, but also in a quicker way that gives you better, I guess, direction for, like, you know, finding out what resources you need or getting the work done. So we should definitely keep that as well.
Yeah, cool. How about over to Sara?
I think as a group, we troubleshoot pretty well. So this week with Git, and then last week with regular expressions and trying to get that normalized function to work.
Yeah. Okay, how about Elyse?
I would say using the to-do list from this week and last week. That has been super helpful also with, you know, breaking down the problems into mini steps, because I feel like I don't do that very well personally, but it's helped me. And then just kind of keeping track. And also that definitely helps with not overthinking things. So shout out to the group for not overthinking.
Yes, overthinking is always, you'll always be doing that. For me, it was PRs getting opened early. It's great to see. Great questions in the channel, and seeing the group come together to solve some Git fun. How about you, Scott?
So it sounds like everybody is noticing this. I think this goes to what Jason said about pre-communication and what Elise said about yay for not overthinking things, but we avoided rabbit holes. Even when we were like just up against a brick wall with a problem, we were working on the actual problem, not going down a rabbit hole. So I think that was nice.
That's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
Stay focused on the actual problem and not. We call them side quests on my team. Yeah, I thought just over the last 2 weeks, just like the teamwork and the resource sharing and the problem solving that you all have done together has been really outstanding. It's really good. So keep doing more of that.
Yeah. Miles, did you have anything to add for this one? What went well?
Okay, so this is the second column, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What went well this week? I think Sara and I got done really, really quickly, so that went well. I think we got down to like brass tacks, what needed to be done, got it done, and then we kind of sat for the rest of the week, which I desperately needed, but it was great to have that happen on a week I really needed it.
Cool. All right. What could have gone better, or it might have been improved? Let's start with Sara.
Getting PRs ready for review, I think, like just getting it up and open for people to review. I remember like if the first week we were talking about like the schedule and like Wednesday, Thursday and stuff like that, Friday, I don't think I've had anything up on that schedule yet. So maybe that's something I can work on for next week.
Cool. Yeah. Elyse.
I would say that I need to get better at code reviews. I feel like I write the same thing because sometimes I guess my knowledge base on what I'm reviewing isn't the best, but I feel like it gets a little repetitive how I respond. So I apologize if anybody else has noticed that. But yeah, something I would like to work on is being a better code reviewer.
Yeah, even throwing questions out, like it doesn't even have to be a suggestion or a comment. It can be a question of just like, you know, how does this work, or asking for an explanation, or even chiming in with like, hey, this is an awesome addition or something like that. So yeah, I think you've been doing great, so keep it up. For me, I would say keep the ball rolling on draft PRs. So the draft PRs will get open early, and be sure to keep pushing your committed changes. And then the other thing, just kind of what we were seeing today, like be sure that you're working on your feature branch and not master, and not merging to master locally and pushing that. How about Scott?
So for me, what could be going better is making sure that everyone is reviewing the PRs and noting it on the PR. Because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to figure out if somebody said something like off the record, or, you know, trying to backtrace. And so just making sure that everybody who's been tagged as a reviewer of that PR, that they either approve it or say something one way or the other, just so we have it all in one place, that what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's, I guess I'm next, so I get to speak anyway, but yeah, what I'd say about that is that, like, the expectation is that, you know, one pair, they put their work up for the other pair to review. Both people in that pair should give their approval, and then one mentor out of the three of us can be, you know, once you get one mentor to approve, then you're free to go to master. That'd be kind of how I would say that should go. So, you know, it does mean, you know, when you're done with your own work, you're not done, right? Like you have to kind of shepherd your own PR through the review process, respond to the feedback. You need to go and review the other team's work. And I like what you're saying too, Scott, about like if like sometimes those discussions happen in Slack, but they need to come back to GitHub where the work is, right? Like, so like if you have a question about it, you know, maybe it gets resolved, and then whatever the conclusion is goes back to GitHub, and, you know, next to a line of code. So it's like, here's what we decided about this thing. So I like all that.
And not to interrupt, I'll say what I do at work and what a lot of people at work do too is if there is a conversation in Slack, then you can always copy that link and drop it into a GitHub comment and just say, here's some context of discussion we had before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, I guess so. What we might work on improving is just a question. So, what could we do in this coming week to give ourselves a better chance to be able to demo on production? Like demoing on production, there's some teams, so you might get on a team that's very strict about that. You don't ever demo on your local or on a development environment of any kind. So, I'd love to see us, just like try to walk it back from, if Sunday at 3:00 we're demoing. We want that to be on production. What does it take to, what do you have to do on Saturday? What do you have to do on Friday? What do you have to do on Thursday in order to make that happen, right? Because there are, there are steps that you have to go through. You need to leave time to respond to the feedback. It's not enough to like at the last minute try to just say, here's my thing, because there may be changes that need to happen, right? Maybe something's going on with the other pair. They made a change that just now puts your stuff kind of like you need to change a variable name or something, and so you need to be able to like build in a little bit of time to respond to the feedback as well. So I'd love for us to figure out what we could do, get closer to that next time. I think we were closer than it seemed this week, right? Like the PRs were actually in pretty good shape. We hadn't kind of put a bow on it and got it actually merged. So I think we're close.
When you say demo on production, do you mean both PRs for that week like merged and we're demoing just one? Okay.
Yep. So
there would still be 2 demos.
Yeah. Each team would demo the part of the change to the production app that they were responsible for.
So would we be demoing like master, not like our branches? Would they already be merged and everything? That's what I guess I'm asking.
Yeah. The idea is that by Sunday when the meeting starts, both of the branches in that week are in master, and you're like the PRs are deleted, the branches are deleted, and you're just demoing right off that production URL.
Okay.
That's the goal. So anyway.
Cool.
And Jason.
I think, to Jason.
Yeah, and so in line with that, my comment kind of goes a step before that, which is we should make better use of branch previews for demoing for AC approval, for checking our assumptions as developers as we go. In light of, Andrew saying, we should be in master and launched by the time we come here for retro. You should have enough time to see it in an environment outside of your computer, and for your mentors and product folks as we're playing that role to see it outside of that as well. All your PRs get pushed to a test environment for that branch, and that link is available on that PR. I've started using that more and more to review everything. I think the more we get used to reviewing there, the easier it will be for us to get the approval and then say, all right, cool, merge, ship to production, right? And even if something doesn't get to production yet, because maybe like there's a last second merge conflict, at least there's an environment that's not your machine that it's running on, that you can prove it works, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole works on my machine thing starts to come into play, right? It hasn't here. We've been pretty good, but it will eventually, and that's going to bite you when it does. It's just easier to make sure, hey, it works in another environment. We're good to go. Jason, Steve, y'all can see it out as it's intended. Everyone else on the team, you can review the code, but also look at it in a different environment. You don't have to run it locally to approve that piece of it, especially as we get into more of the UI and experience work in the next couple of weeks.
Did you call that a branch preview?
Mm-hmm. So I believe Netlify officially calls it a deploy preview. But on your branch, as Netlify does the checks, you'll see when it says deploy preview with the link, and you can click on that and see your branch in a staging environment, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And with that comes the other piece of let's keep committing early and often and pushing our branches early and often. Right? If we can get to a point where we daily say, hey, this is this morning, let's look at our link to see what we did yesterday. That can start to help us, or at least getting close to that goal, right? Even if it's like in the beginning, let's do that twice in a given sprint.
Yeah, like when we go to when we go to the breakout rooms today, like let's make sure that both people in both pairs have the correct branch set up, tracking the correct remote. Let's just like kind of make sure that we have that kind of baseline set up so that, and then, you know, like if we can get draft PRs created as well. Yes, Scott.
How difficult is that going to be considering like some of the GitHub issues, and then there's like, you know, 3 branches to potentially merge right now before we even start those branches for next week?
Well, we can create the branches. If you don't commit anything to them, then you just merge master in and you're fine, right? So,
okay.
But at least we have the branches. The branches are created. You're tracking the right thing, so that kind of, that's not a step you have to do later. And you're like, how does that work again? You know, like we get it all kind of worked out.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and as an aid that kind of helps you in that, just make sure you get the latest from master every day. So even if nothing has changed, but you start to get into that habit of muscle memory of, let me see if anything new is on master. Let me see if I have to merge that into my branch.
Yeah, so get checkout master, get pull, make sure you have the latest. If there were any changes, go back to your branch, get merge master.
And like Jason was saying, it's really important to be merging the latest of your source branch every day, because there are only four engineers working on this project right now, but you can imagine if there are tens, hundreds of engineers working on the same project, you'll fall way behind if you don't keep that up every day.
Yep.
In a live environment, like like in an actual working environment, do you tend to have like a daily schedule for this stuff? Like for different, like is it just master in the morning, or is it, I guess it would probably depend on the project and what's going on, but like that's, all that merging and stuff is, you know, a lot of extra work on top of actually solving problems. So it's like wondering how you schedule all that into your day.
Well, I think you get faster at it is one thing, but the other thing is a lot of times, you know, you just need you need master to be up to date in order to finally kind of merge at the end. So a lot of the work is not necessarily going to cause conflicts with what you're working on a bigger project. Like we're only in a few files, so the chances of there being a conflict are actually higher. But you know, you can imagine like we have several, you know, products and services and stuff all in one repo, and so there's changes happening all over the place all the time. 99% of which aren't going to touch the stuff that you're actually working on. Okay, so you still have to be up to date in order to get merge your stuff. So
I think I might have misunderstood what Steve was saying. It sounded like you're merging beyond just master. So I just wanted to. Got it.
And then there also comes the parts of like folks who launch or deploy like tens of dozens of times a day, right? So like when I was at Coinbase, we could easily deploy like 50 times before lunch because we had just such tiny features going out by so many small teams. Working on one huge Ruby code base and one huge monorepo of a React app split into like 6 projects, right? And so for us, it was always, hey, as soon as I see something in the Slack that says something went out to production, merge it into my branch. I already know it's in there, right? And so like Andrew said, as you practice, you'll start to figure out how to slipstream it. But the biggest thing for you is that the earlier you get your branch in sync, the less time you have to spend doing that at the end. Where then if there are a lot of conflicts, now you have to be double sure. You have to like start changing code and then get it re-reviewed because you've materially changed what was reviewed and things like that. Early and often.
Yeah. Cool. Good discussions.
Yeah.
All right. So what are our, let's see, our pairings this week are so Miles and Elise, you're together this coming week, and Scott and Sara. And then who's got the issue board up?
Bring it back.
Let's see.
So it's 9 and 10 this week?
Yeah, so let's see. As a user, I want to filter my shopping list to make it easier to locate an item in the list. So you can imagine if you have a long list, You might have to scroll quite a bit in order to find certain things. They're not in alphabetical order, they're in order of how soon they're going to be purchased. So, if you want to quickly get to something, you want to be able to type in and start having it narrow the list down to things that match that piece of text. So we're going to add a text field at the top of the shopping list. As the user types, the list narrows to include all items that include the text. When the field has text in it, they should have some way of hitting a little X or something to clear the field. So that's what that one's about. And then number 10, as an item, I want my estimated next purchase date to be computed at the time my purchase is recorded in the database. So there's a gist here with a little function that can calculate what the next purchase date should be. So when you're first adding an item, we have the user estimate, soon, kind of soon, not soon, 7, 14, or 30 days. But then once they start making purchases, we want that to adjust to the reality. So if they buy something, they say it's going to be 14 days, and they buy it in 10 days, we want that to adjust closer to 10 days. It's not going to just be 10 because it needs to be some sort of average over time. But so there's a formula in this gist that will help calculate that. So when they hit that they purchased something, we need to run that function, calculate what that next purchase date is, and then save that onto the item in the database. So those are the 2 issues for the week. Anybody have a preference? Anything sound fun to somebody?
I think I would like to try the filtering option, but also would like, to know what Miles thinks.
I'm game either way. I don't really have a preference this week.
Cool. All right. And Scott and Sarah, you're cool with computing that next purchase date and saving that onto the item?
More time.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. I will assign folks issues. All right. Miles and Elise on that one. And oh yeah, I guess I need to make some breakout rooms here in a second. Which Jay and Steve, which one are you gonna go with?
What do you think, Jay?
Well, at work they call me the Time Lord.
I knew it.
Is that right?
I have a funny meme that they made of me, where I'm like fading, like the Thanos when he like snapped and everyone like faded away in the Marvel movie. When I left, they had that, but me with clocks up and down everything because I refactored all of our time, and it was hell.
So it sounds like Jason's going with Scott and Sarah. Is that what I just heard?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. All right, I'm going to send you all off. I'll be here in the main room if you have any questions or anything. Otherwise, good work this week. Have a good coming week, and then we'll say an awkward goodbye as you pass back through the room after you're done. All right.
Thank you.
See ya.